Let's continue talking about common errors in the simple sentence. In the previous video, we talked about how to correct fragments. Now, let's focus on subject-verb agreement. A verb agrees with a subject when it corresponds to it in person and number. Let's look at an example. The boy eats. The boys eat. In the first case, I have only one boy, so the subject is singular. In the second example, I have two boys. The subject is plural. A singular subject takes a singular verb, and a plural subject takes a plural verb. Person and number. There are three persons in the English language that can be in singular or plural. First person singular is I. Second person singular is you. Third person singular is she, he, or it. Remember that it is used for things and objects. In the plural, the first person is we, the second person is you, and the third person is they. Explanations. Subject-verb agreement applies to verbs in the present tense and some forms of the verb to be in the past, was and were. What are the rules? In the present tense, the verb takes an s or sometimes an es or an ies for the third person singular, that is he, she, it pronouns or equivalent nouns. Anthony likes music. In this example, Anthony is the subject and it corresponds to he. It's the third person singular. So I have like, which is the verb, and I have to add an s to make the verb agree with the subject. Rules for negatives. To form the negative, we use the helping verb do not, or its contracted form don't. But in the third person singular, that is he, she, or it, we use does not, or its contracted form doesn't. For example, I talk, I do not talk, or I don't talk. She talks, she does not talk, she doesn't talk. You sleep, you do not sleep, or you don't sleep. He sleeps, he does not sleep. Carol studies, Carol does not study. We study, we do not study. So here in these examples you can notice how the verbs need to agree with the subjects. Anthony doesn't like music. Anthony is a subject in the third person singular. Doesn't is a helping verb. And like is the verb. Check this out. The helping verb agrees, so there is no need to change the main verb. I do not have to add an s to like, because I have already made the verb agree by adding doesn't. Rules for questions. To make questions, we also use the helping verb do, but in the third person singular, we use does. Let's look at an example. Do they like music? Do is a helping verb. They is a subject that is in the third person plural, and like is a verb. As I have a subject in the third person plural, I use do in order to make the question. Does Anthony like music? Does is a helping verb. Anthony is a subject in the third person singular, and like is a verb. Again, as I have a subject in the third person singular, I need to use does. Again, the helping verb agrees, so there is no need to change the main verb. The main verb in these examples is like. Like remains the same because I'm changing the helping verb. Rules for the present tense. As we mentioned, normally in the present tense we add an S to the end of the verb in the third person, he, she, or it. She speaks 3 languages. Anthony plays football. It makes noise. But there are some exceptions. If the verb ends in double S, X, CH or SH or the letter O, we add an ES in the third person singular. Kiss, kisses. Fix, fixes. Watch, watches. Crash, crashes. Go, goes. He kisses his wife. The mechanic fixes cars. Susan goes shopping. But this is not all. If the verb ends in a consonant plus a Y, we remove the Y and add IES in the third person singular. So, for example, for the verb carry, we would change it to carries. Hurry, hurries. Study, studies. Deny, denies. He carries his bag. She hurries every morning. Susan studies engineering. The verb to be. The verb to be is irregular, so in order to make sure it agrees, we need to learn its form in the present and in the past. Here you have the verb to be conjugated in the present, in the affirmative, negative, and interrogative. Here you have the verb to be conjugated in the past tense. As you can see, the verb changes according to the person. The verb have. The verb have is also irregular only in the present, and we need to learn its form. Here you have an example of the verb have conjugated in the present, and you can notice how the different forms adapt to the subjects. Let's go back to subject-verb agreement. This type of mistake often happens when the subject and the verb are separated by a word or a group of words, when we place verbs before subjects like in questions, or when we use indefinite pronouns as subjects. So let's analyze the first case, a subject separated from the verb. Sometimes the subject and the verb are separated by a word or by a group of words. The workers on the first shift eat lunch early. The veterinarian who cares for my dogs recommends all natural pet food. Global climate change worsening every year continues to draw concern. It's important to find the subject and the verb to check if they agree or not. For example, when words come between the subject and the verb, you need to make the verb agree with the subject and not with a word that comes right before the verb. It is incorrect to say, "The babysitter who watches my children are friendly," because the subject is not children. The subject of the sentence is babysitter, as we can see by crossing out the prepositional phrase. The verb is agrees with babysitter. Now, case 2. What happens when verbs come before subjects? Sometimes the verb comes before the subject, like in questions. Where is the entrance? Who are your favorite athletes? The subjects are the words in blue, not where and who. So if you have trouble finding the subject in a question, turn them around. Where is the entrance? The entrance is, and now I have made clear that entrance is a subject, and I can make it agree with the verb is. Who are your favorite athletes? Your favorite athletes are, and again I have made the subject evident. Another example when a verb comes before the subject is with there is and there are. There's a big bag on the wall. There are 3 infants at my daughter's daycare. The subjects are the words in blue, not there. If you have trouble finding the subject in these sentences, try turning them around. There is a big bag on the wall. A big bag is on the wall. Now I have made evident that bag is the subject of the sentence. There are 3 infants at my daughter's daycare. 3 infants are at my daughter's daycare. Once again, I have made my subject evident. Now let's see what happens with indefinite pronouns. Remember that indefinite pronouns refer to general people or things. Most indefinite pronouns, like those in the following list, take he, she, it form of the verb. In other words, there's an S at the end of the verb. Everyone is excited about the game. Nothing bothers me more than mosquitoes. But note this. Some indefinite pronouns, such as many, several, and few, take the they form of the verb. In other words, there is no S at the end of the verb. Few plan to attend the meeting. Now it's time to check your understanding. Please complete the activity in this section and then continue with the next video.